And if you marry someone who's good, they won't even ask you to do those things.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
What's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a sit down Q&A with you all. I haven't done one in a long time. So I asked you guys some questions on my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Basically, all my social media. So if you're not following me, you should be following me here, and there. So yeah, it's been a while since I have done one, and I thought, since we are doing Vlogmas, aka Stephmas, this is a great opportunity for you guys to really get to know me a little bit more, as I really don't share too much of myself on here unless it's like a chit chat or I'm just doing like a really motivational type of video. So let's get into these juicy questions. So the first question is, how do you balance motherhood and being a wife? I'm gonna tell you right now, it's the hardest shit ever. I'm not even gonna sit up here and, what's the saying? I'm gonna like basically spoon feed you or something like that. Like, no, I'm not gonna do it. It's the hardest thing ever, juggling motherhood and being a wife, because when you are passionate about a lot and you have a lot going on creatively, it's like something on my lip. it can be really, what's the word I'm looking for? It can be really difficult to make sure you're balancing everything. Of course, my top priority is being a mother and being a wife. So I have to make sure I'm checking into that, and I'm not making, I have to basically check myself and make sure I'm not making one or the other feel less, because at the end of the day, that is my top priority. And I'm doing everything that I can to ensure that we're building a better foundation. That's why I really want to build my brands and businesses, because I feel like time is very important. And that's one thing I can say, as being a mother and a wife for as long as I have. I mean, I haven't been a mother for a long time. I mean, 8 years is a long time, but it's not as long as someone who's been a mother for about 15, 20 plus years. So I'm just doing the best that I can and not feeling guilty, because I know mom guilt is real. And like I said, I just have to check myself, and I have to make sure I'm designating time and making sure that I put that first, because that is the most important part for me, is my family. I always said that I never want to put them last when it comes to the things that I truly love. And if you marry someone who's good, they won't even ask you to do those things. So my husband really understands that I have to work. I have to build my brands up from the ground, and this is not easy. So he knows that, you know, but it's also checking in and understanding, like, you have to just prioritize time, and that's the most important part for me. Time is everything. So the second question is, how do you keep the spark? Girl, I don't know. That's real. Like, I just think it's one of those things where you have to know each other's love language. Again, I'm not affectionate, so I have to remember my husband is very affectionate. So I have to check myself and have to make sure that just because I'm not affectionate doesn't necessarily mean that he will feel some type of way if I'm not showing him affectionate. So I try to do little things that I know that he likes, little things that I know that he loves, and that kind of keeps the spark. And I'm off, you know, when we're off, we try to do day dates, because having a babysitter is really difficult. So just making sure we spend that time with each other, just like, even if it's just watching a movie or a TV show, you know, some things, it's not gonna be all fancy. Like, we've been together 10 years, married for 5. It's not gonna be fancy every day of the week. Number 3, how did you know your husband was the one? Well, I've known my husband since about 10th grade, no, 11th grade. We met through mutual friends due to our birthdays being extremely close together. If you did not know, my husband and I are 3 days apart. I'm November 23rd, he's November 26th. And it's so cool we had our son on November 6th. I thought that was always cool. But I knew he was the one when he showed me love that money couldn't buy. And I mean that, like, I say this a lot. I know I said this in like the past 2 questions, but time is everything. you designating time, showing me that I'm important, making me a priority. You don't have to buy me lavish gifts, but making sure that it was just a point of putting me before himself. And I thought that was like amazing, and just taking me out on dates, doing things that I'd never done before, and just really opening my mind to new things, you know. And he's really family oriented, and that's me, you know. I'm all about my family, and before we had children, I always said I wanted to date someone who was about their family. And to me, that's the most important part of it all. And he's just like me. We're both Sagittariuses, so we get along really great. I mean, of course, he's more stubborn, but but we make it work. And I feel like communication is top priority. You guys are lucky you got that, because I don't like sharing my relationship on social media. Number 4, do you want more children? You know, it's so funny. I battle this question a lot, because I always said after I had my daughter, I don't want any more kids because her labor was really traumatic. But I come from a huge family. I have 19 siblings and probably a little bit more than that. Do the calculations. But I just want them to have each other. And like by me having my siblings, it's a great and it's an amazing thing. And I just feel like if God allows me to have more, I'm open to having more. But right now in my life, no, I don't want any right now, because 2020 we got goals, boo. Like, I'm trying to go to Madives. I'm trying to build these brands. I'm really trying to just like elevate our life. So I feel like once I get a little more further, I think that I would want another. I do want another son, you know. But I feel like because how can I say this in not a mean way? So I had both of my kids during undergrad. I had my son during undergrad and my daughter in my graduate program. I don't want to have to put me last, if that makes sense. I'm really being selfish with me right now and my family and who I have, and I'm very grateful to have the 2 that I have. I'm always grateful because they are my miracle babies. But I would like another child. I do, but right now, no. I need more coinage. It costs. So the 5th question is, how did you lose weight? So I started YouTube with that video, and I'll pop it right here so you guys can like see the link. Not see the link, but see the photo, and then I'll drop it down below so you guys can check it out. I kind of go over my story a little bit, but I'll give you guys a backtrack of it all. So my father passed away in 2012, and after having my son, I found out that I was borderline being a diabetic, and my doctor wanted me to lose about 50 pounds. And it didn't hit me until after losing my father to a heart attack that it was really time to get serious about losing weight. And I mean like really getting serious. And I just basically meal prepped. I worked out, and I had to understand that this journey was for me and not anyone else. And if you wait for people, you will never lose weight. You will never get it done. And that's pretty much the short answer of it all. But if you want more details, I do have videos, so you guys can check those below. The 6th question you guys asked me, well, people asked me, is how did you maintain after having baby number 2? My daughter, like, after having her, my weight was really stubborn, and I don't know if because it was due to age. I'm not even that old, y'all, but you know, you're getting a little older, your metabolism is going down. I really don't have a high metabolism as it is, so it was one of those things. It took me another 1.5 years to really lose the weight, and I'm still not even happy with my stomach. So I had to take a different approach this time. I knew that carbs was my enemy. And that doesn't mean that I don't include carbs into my meal prep, but it's harder for me now to consume a lot of carbs. So I had to make sure that I'm eliminating my carb intake, drinking my water, minding my business, working out, and just not being hard on myself, because at the end of the day, I lost over 130 pounds. And although I got pregnant and gained 50 of those pounds back, and then I lost 30 after having her, I was stuck with those 20. And people don't realize the number means nothing. It's all in fat. So fat loss was really my go-to this round. And just like I said, not being hard on myself. I wasn't upset if I didn't lose any weight. And I think that's when the weight really just started to like fall off a little bit more. Like I look back on videos probably from a year ago and how much fatter my face was. So like, I think you just don't have to be hard on yourself. And you had a baby. Oh my goodness, you brought a life into this world. It took 9 to 10 months to gain that weight. So understand that it's gonna take 9 to 10 months to lose that weight. And don't be out here looking at IG models because it's not realistic. You know, the realistic way is you putting your best foot forward and going your journey, because just because someone's 10 steps ahead doesn't necessarily mean you'll be on that same route as them. So that's pretty much how I maintain my weight. I still work out, I still eat, I have a cheat meal, I eat low carb as much as possible. Yeah. Okay, so the next question is, how has it been grieving the loss of your parents? So that question is actually really good. So I would tell you, if you're grieving or if you have lost a parent or parents, it's extremely hard. Like, just because you're happy doesn't mean you don't grieve. And I think that's something you have to understand. Things will trigger you in a way that you didn't even know can trigger you. I would never have thought entering 2019 that I would have lost my mother, my last biological parent. And then I lost my grandmother, you know, in 2018. So I would have never thought that I would be put through the emotions again, because my grandmother was like a mom to me too. It has been hard. And that's real, like being real with you guys. It has been hard. Some days I cry, some days I'm depressed, some days I just want to smack somebody because they taking me out of my, you know, my mood. You know, but I am working. My goal before 2020 is to find a therapist that gets me, because I have other issues as well, dealing with abandonment issues as a child and just other things that I've dealt with, you know, like we go through things in life as a young adult into adulthood, and just being a mom and being a wife. There's a lot of titles that we necessarily wear, and building the brand and just the struggles with that, and then, you know, and just trying to understand that your path is your path and no one else's, you know, you can't look at anyone else's path, and, you know, and then you don't really have anyone to call anymore. So it sucks. Like, that's the reality of it all. Like, it truly sucks. You know, I was just telling someone the other day, like, you know, a lot of people want to clap, like, sorry, I need my coffee. I was just telling my last tech about this. It was a quote that bothers me, and I never really understood the fullness of this quote until losing my last biological parent, because me and my mom haven't had the most perfect relationship. And it was talking about toxic parents. And I've been meaning to say this to people, because maybe this part is for you. Maybe you have a toxic parent. Maybe you have a toxic aunt, uncle, but mostly your parent, because these are the people who made you. You know, your mom birthed you, your father had that part as well. I'm not saying you got to be buddy-buddy with your mom or your dad, whichever one is toxic. But I will tell you this, when they die, you aren't thinking about how toxic they were to you. And I can say that because I know what it's like to have a toxic parent. My mother was very toxic at some point in my life. But I love that lady with every being in me, because she was my mother. She birthed me into this world. And I know people say, oh, stop telling people to deal with that person because they're your mom or your dad. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you got to be buddy-buddy like I just said. But I'm telling you, as a person who no longer has their parents, you will feel that hurt if you do not make it right. And I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this. I'm so glad we made amends. I'm so glad we were able to have a relationship. We were able to celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving with each other. Even though she worked a nerve, and that's not saying that she didn't work a nerve outside of those holidays, but I just want to say, don't think that you have all the time in the world, because you don't. Like, I can say around May, something in my spirit told me to reach out back to my mom, because we didn't have an argument or anything, but I didn't hear from her after like my daughter's birthday passed, and I knew she was going through some issues with her liver, and something said, you know what, call her, Steph. And I called her, and you know, and we talked, and it was great. I said, you know what, I don't want to let time just keep going by, because I don't ever want to be in a position where I get a phone call saying she has died and we didn't even get to talk. So that's all I got to say on that. I'm not saying, y'all, you have to be your toxic parent's best friend. I just say, forgive them, tell them you love them, because you just never know what they're struggling with. You know, I didn't know everything that my mother was battling mentally. And that's why going to a therapist is so important, so imperative to me. I want to make sure that I'm providing my children with the best mental capacity that I can do and that I can be, because I owe it to them. You know, I have to look at my examples, and I don't want to repeat a cycle of going through trauma and not being the best mother that I can be for them. So that's all I have to say on that. Just make it right if you can. Understand completely. What made you, next question is, what made you start a YouTube? So a lot of people wanted me, like I said in another question, I started YouTube because of fitness. I lost a lot of weight, and a lot of people wanted me to do YouTube to help them. But as I started doing YouTube, my route changed. And I was listening to Dr. Kelsey today, and she said, your purpose will change depending on the season you're in. And it rang the bell with me. I love fitness. I love helping people lose weight. But on the flip side of it all, it's not I have a lot of passions, and I want to focus on different things in my life. And as you guys can see from my channel, I do different topics because I'm going in this direction of filmmaker, like producing. I really want to just do more of that, telling people stories, because I love the transparency in it all, and just getting better in that. You know, like I really look up to Ava. You know, I just reading that she picked up a camera around 30 some years old, and I was like, wow, I'm 29, you know. And I really love this. I really love just guiding people, and I want to create stories. Like that's something that I realized that I'm truly passionate about. So your passion will change if you create YouTube. Don't feel bad if it is. A lot of YouTubers go through this, like big YouTubers that I follow, they are starting beauty and then they go to other directions. But mainly I started YouTube because I'm multi-passionate. So I knew this was a platform for me to just give my best and do my all. So the last question, because this video is gonna be super long. The last question is, how do you set goals for yourself? For me, I set goals by journaling. I like to do a to-do list. I like to write my mood in that moment of the day. I did a video on journaling, I do believe, but I don't mind sharing it again here. So what I do is in my journal every day, I haven't really been consistent lately because life has been crazy, but I'm trying to get out of seasonal depression. So what I do every day is I set my mood. Of course, I write the date. And I just write how I feel. And then after that, I set a to-do list. And I write things that I want to accomplish in that day. And then as I accomplish it, I check it off. And that allows me to prioritize and to make sure that I'm doing what needs to be done and staying organized. Because when you have different things going on, especially creating content for you guys, it can really be time consuming. So that's how I stay organized and just prioritizing my day and leaving my phone alone when it's time to really do what needs to be done. So I hope you guys liked this video. It was really fun to do. Thanks again for those that sent me questions. Yeah, I think it gives you a better perspective of me outside of doing crime videos, stories, and any other. This eyelash is like bothering me because it makes me look like I got bulky eyes. I think a lash fell off, but don't judge me. Charge it to the game, y'all. I sleep wow. But again, thanks guys for tuning in. I will see you guys in day 10. OMG, we're hitting the big digits. Anywho, see you guys tomorrow.